Dear aspiring dev, I want to be a developer as soon as possible is a great statement, but I wouldn't yet consider it a goal. It doesn't really explain when, why, or how you're going to achieve it. Let's use the statement as a starting point to create SMART goals and milestones that you can use to keep track of your progress on your developer journey. Hi, I'm Bree and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Dear Aspiring Dev, the series where I take new and aspiring developers on the journey from having the dream to getting the job. This is the fourth video in the Dear Aspiring Dev series, and if you haven't seen the other three, I will go ahead and leave a link in the description and also a link up here somewhere. So you want to be a developer. You have one very large goal, but in order to achieve that goal, you're going to need to break it down into smaller and more achievable goals. So today we're going to be taking the big, I want to be a developer as soon as possible, and we're going to be turning it into smaller, more actionable items. So today we'll cover some goals that you should consider setting for yourself as a developer, using that plan to keep yourself accountable and manage your progress on your dev journey, how to stay motivated on your dev journey, and there's also a giveaway, my first giveaway of this series. So in the last video, we talked about some of the different disciplines within development there are. I think that selecting the branch of development that you want to work with is a super important part of beginning to create your goals, because it's going to dictate some of the goals and languages that you're going to need to learn down the road. So I want to be a developer as soon as possible. This is hard to achieve as a singular goal. So if you're anything like me, your brain can be constantly pulled in multiple different directions, and as you progress down your developer journey, this blanket statement might change its meaning over time. It's really easy to lose steam and motivation when you're trying to achieve a pretty ambiguous goal like this. So a very common method for honing in on your dreams is to create SMART goals from them. So each letter in SMART stands for something different. So S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A stands for attainable, R stands for relevant, and T stands for timely. So let's take that blanket statement and break it down a little bit. So let's start with specific. Your goal should be as specific and narrow as you can make it. Instead of saying become a developer, let's be more specific. What kind of development are we going to be studying? Let's try front-end web development, or iOS or mobile developer. This suggests that you're going to need to learn a very specific skill set in order to be this kind of developer. Let's move on to M, which is measurable. So you're going to need to be able to measure your progress towards your goal. In this case, we can measure a few different ways, but the way that I personally would do it is by evaluating how many technologies you are starting to learn. I would say something like, I want to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React.js in order to secure a front-end web developer position. This tells you at least 4 technologies that you need to know, and as you become more confident and are able to grasp the competencies of each individual language, you can sort of check them off your list. So for A, we have attainable, and this really just means that your goals should be realistic. Try not to set goals with unrealistic expectations. If you're brand new to coding, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to write your first line of code and then at the very end or beginning of the next month, secure a job as a developer. This is a pretty unrealistic goal, and by setting a goal, even if it's not this extreme, that's unrealistic, you might be setting yourself up to fail, and that's not what we want. So for R, we have relevant, and we want to make sure that your goal is relevant to your overall purpose. So relevancy in my eyes would relate to your why. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to do this? Make sure that whatever your why is, it's relevant to you. And then lastly, for T, we have time. So your goal should be time bound. Saying as soon as possible is relative, while also being realistic with your goal. It's great to still set a day or like a month or week that you would like to achieve your goal by. So let's put it all together. So we started with, I want to get a job as a developer as soon as possible. Using the SMART method, we have turned it into, I want to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React in order to secure a job as a front-end developer within 8 months by June 30th of 2021. So what you'll notice is, as you start creating SMART goals for your larger goals, you'll be able to take and pull different actionable items from those goals. And from there, you can actually make like little smaller goals from your main goal. And these smaller goals that you're creating, you can use as your milestones. So for example, with the SMART goal that I just created, I can think of at least 4 or 5 of them. So I know that I want to learn HTML, that could be one goal. I know that I want to learn CSS, JavaScript, React. And from there, like I said, you can check off, okay, I've learned this skill, I've learned this skill. So an important part for that, if you noticed, was thinking about the different technologies that you're going to need to learn to be the type of developer that you're aspiring to be. So if you're just starting out, you might be thinking, how do I even know what I need to know? Sometimes it can be hard to determine what technology you'll need and which technology will get you a job down the road. So something that I find really useful is taking your development type and searching for a roadmap online. Thankfully, there's tons of developers who have a lot of knowledge about different types of development and the different technologies that go into that development. And oftentimes they put them in a really nice visual format where you can see where you should start, some of the concepts that you should know, some of the technologies that you should know, and more importantly, the order in which you should learn them. So some of the roadmaps can be a little intimidating at first, but let's take a look at one together. So I've mentioned this site before and I really like it, and it is roadmap.sh, and I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description as well. I'll be choosing a front-end roadmap because I think that it's pretty popular and that there are a lot of people who are going to be starting with front-end development, so it might be useful to anybody who's going to be going down that path. But let's take a little bit of a deeper dive together. Let me just get over to the computer. Okay everyone, so this is roadmap.sh, and I personally really like this site because I think that their roadmaps are very comprehensive. Currently there are 6 available roadmaps and it looks like they're working on another one, but let's go ahead and jump right into front end. So what you'll see when you come to this page is there are a lot of different technologies, there's a lot of different colors, there's a lot of different frameworks. So the first thing to remember is you're not going to be learning every single item that's on this list. So I hope that takes like a little bit of the anxiety away. Basically, the items that are here in this very bright yellow color, these are the main topics or the main concepts and technologies that are important for front-end developers. Then from these main topics, we have different little, I would say, orange items, and these are what I would consider the core competencies or the core concepts that you should be able to take away from these main concepts here. You're never going to be an expert and know every single thing about every single piece of technology, so this is a good representation of the items that you should know before moving on to your next set of items. So another thing I want to point out is if we take a look over here at the key, we have different options, and I really love the way that this is laid out. So there are personal recommendations from the team that created this. There are also alternate options for pieces of technology that have multiple options for technology. For instance, if we look over here for repo services and version control, you can use GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket. There's more, but if you know GitHub and you're comfortable with it, there's no real reason to learn all of the other ones unless a job demands it or something like that. But when you're just starting out and learning, you don't have to learn every single form of this one specific technology. There are also items that are included in the gray with the check mark that can be learned in any order. So for instance, if you are learning JavaScript, you can still work on your accessibility and you can still work on your SEO basics because they don't have to be learned in a specific order. And then one thing that I also really love is the team that created this also included items that they wouldn't necessarily recommend. This highlights older technologies that they might not recommend you use now, but that doesn't mean that these technologies aren't currently being used in other projects or for the applications of like different companies and everything like that. So what I personally would do from this roadmap is I would take a look and I would note down all of my core concepts. So for instance, I would say, okay, I need to know these things about the internet, which is important for a front-end developer, definitely if you're going to be designing apps for the web. So then when we get down to items here, like frameworks, these are going to be subjective depending on what your goals are. I have personally used React and Angular, and I am more partial to React. But if you would like to work at a company or work on a project that specifically requires Angular, or you're just more interested in Angular or Vue, I would adjust your path and go down the correct branching path to learn those different technologies. And then for items down here, for instance, you're gonna have to take your options that you notated that you would like to learn from different branches. You're not gonna necessarily need something like React Strap if you're gonna be using Angular or Vue. So the other thing that we have over here is resources. These resources will correlate to items from the landscape. So there's a lot on the internet, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and some version control. I think that this is a great place to start, and in the next video I'll actually be talking about some other options as well for learning these specific topics. So what I personally would do while I was reviewing a list of technologies from a roadmap, I would make my own personal list and save a version of the roadmap for future reference. And I would make a note of all of the technology I would like to add to my goals. And I would also keep in mind the order in which I should learn them. So this is going to be a great starting point, but remember to be flexible, because you might find that you don't particularly need a certain technology as you get further down, because there might be another one that you're already learning that relatively does the same thing. And you're also going to find that some might be useful or unuseful to your goals. So you'll be able to remove and swap technologies as you see fit for your own journey. Another note to understand from the roadmaps as you're doing your research is to understand how the technologies work together. So I think this will give you a rough idea of some of the technologies you'll need to know. And from here, you can think about creating a learning plan for yourself, which we'll cover in the next video. You have your goals that you're trying to create for yourself. You have the technology that you need to learn. How do you keep track of your goals? So this is all going to depend on your preference, but I'm going to be sharing 2 of the ways that I like to do it personally. And if you like to do it a different way, go ahead and leave a comment and let everybody know, because I think it'll be useful, because everyone's a little bit different. So my first method is journaling. So I really like bullet journaling, and I personally would set up a bullet journal that is specific to my dev journey. These journals are great for keeping progress of your goals, writing them down, because I personally, I don't know why, but for me, if I write a goal down with pen and paper, all of a sudden it becomes more official. So I love to do that, keeping track of the things that I personally would like to learn, keeping track of things that I'm finding I'm having trouble with. I like to do it this way because I can flip back between weeks, months, and look to see how much I've grown as a developer. I think we could all use that boost to keep us a little bit motivated every now and again. So now it's time for the giveaway that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. So like I said, I really love bullet journaling, and what better way to share my love for bullet journaling than to give away a little kit of the things that I love to bullet journal with. So for this giveaway, I'm going to be giving away a bullet journal from the company Papier. I'm not affiliated with them in any sort of way. I just really like their products, and I love their bullet journals, and they're so cute. I'm gonna go ahead and leave a picture of it somewhere around here. I've ordered it, but I haven't gotten it in the mail yet. A set of my favorite pens, which are the Papermate Inkjoy Pens. These are the smoothest and most colorful pens ever. I absolutely love them. And I'm gonna be giving away in this set also a set of the Zebra Mildliner Highlighters. I use these literally just about every single day when I'm doing my own personal journaling, and I think that these 3 things together are the perfect bullet journal starter kit. So this giveaway is going to be available for US residents right now. I hope to do more giveaways that are going to be international in the future in 2021. And the only thing you have to do to be entered, other than being a US resident, is be subscribed to my channel and tell me what one of your goals for 2021 is. And that's it. Entry to this giveaway is going to end on... Quick pause, I actually said the wrong date in the video and I didn't catch it until just now. So the giveaway is going to be open until December 16th, which is a Wednesday, and it's going to close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And what I'll do after that is I'm going to tag the winner in a pinned comment on this video and also a community post as well. That way, if you don't see one of them, you'll likely see the other. And after 2 days, if I haven't heard anything from the winner, I'll go ahead and draw again. I'm really excited to give away this bullet journaling kit. I just really love journaling and stationery, so it just gives me an extra excuse to buy stationery, which is exactly what I need. But I think and hope it'll also help somebody else who might be starting on their journey but might need a different way of keeping track of things. So the next way that I like to keep track of my goals is with Trello. So Trello at its core is a fancy list making app. So you can have multiple different lists and cards that you can move in between the lists. So I keep track of things by having one board where I have a list of all of my different goals, and then in those goal cards I have the specific items that I want to achieve in order to be able to achieve those goals. I also have the different technologies that I want to learn or am currently learning. I have items where I say I need to learn these core concepts in order for me to be able to move on to the next thing. I also have a section where I can keep track of some projects that I would like to do. Anything related to development is sort of in a list, in a card on this board. And I like doing it this way because I can just drag and drop items between cards. I can add documents, links, and everything like that. And I can have everything in one place. So I also want to note, a lot of people do this, but with an app called Notion. I haven't personally tried it yet, but I know that a lot of people love it. So we have our goals, we know what we need to learn, we know how we can keep track of them, but how do we stay motivated? So I don't know about you, I am most motivated to achieve my goals like right after I define them. So I go through phases where I'm extra motivated, and there's days where sometimes I feel like I couldn't be bothered with it. And I feel like that's normal. I think it's pretty important to know how you can keep yourself motivated during your coding journey. So the first one that I've been doing a lot recently is surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So even if you have family members or friends that are supporting you while you're on your developer journey, it's likely that unless they are in tech themselves, they might not really understand exactly what you're trying to learn and what you're going through. So I love to surround myself on social media like Twitter and Instagram with other developers and people in the tech community, seeing all of their different projects, their posts, their blog posts and things that they're sharing really motivates me, and it keeps me going. If I'm having a problem, I also feel like I can ask the community and they know exactly what I'm going through. So they're going to be able to comment and share their experiences with things that I'm experiencing now. So if you would like to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, I will go ahead and leave them somewhere down here. Twitter is where I just post random things, and Instagram I post all kinds of techie lists and fun stuff like that. So feel free to go ahead and follow me over there. The next thing I would say that you can do to keep yourself motivated is to keep your goals in sight. So it can be easy to lose track of your goals and what you're trying to achieve if you're not constantly confronted by them. So what you can do is try creating your version of a vision board and keeping it somewhere that you can see it all the time. You can also create something that you can post in your work area. For me, sometimes I just draw a little word over here on this whiteboard that I can see all the time when I'm working. Another common way is to write a note to yourself about your goal and put it in the bathroom on the mirror, because then every time you go to the bathroom, you're going to see what your goal is and you're going to be reminded that you are working towards something. Lastly, what you can do is listen to your body. So this last one won't exactly sound like motivation, but I promise you it will definitely help. And it is, don't push yourself too hard. When your goal is very lofty and it can change your way of being, either because you really need a new job or because this is a very big personal goal that you have, there can be a lot of pressure on it. And when there's a lot of pressure, sometimes we can overwork ourselves and not listen to the signs that our body's telling us that we need to take a moment and slow down. So coding every day is great because it builds that habit for you, but there are going to be times when maybe you need to listen to yourself and just take a step back for a day or two. Constant mental strain and putting stress on yourself can lead to burnout. And I promise you, burnout is a lot harder to come back from than it would be if you were to just take a day or two or maybe even a week off of coding. Determining what your goals are and what tech you want to learn is a very large component in starting your developer journey. Even though you're in the process of creating plans and goals, make sure that they're flexible. As you learn and gain more access to different information, Your goals and plans might change a little, and that's okay. Your path doesn't have to be straight. You can take as many turns and curves as you need to. So the next video will be really exciting because we're going to take a look at how to create a study plan for yourself, which will include different resources that I really enjoy for those who are starting to learn to code. And I'm also going to be doing a breakdown and a comparison of the advantages and disadvantages of learning via like a college education, through a boot camp, or through just like being a self-taught developer. I think every single one of them have their different pros and cons, and it's also one of the questions that I get asked the most. So I really look forward to sharing tons of information with you in the next video. So make sure that you're subscribed and that your notifications are on so that you don't miss a video in the Dear Aspiring Dev series. I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you next time.